Afternoon. Welcome to the final Fireside chat of the afternoon. As Courtney mentioned, I'm Beth Pavnik, and I'm a PhD student, and I'm also a Startup Day alum, and I pitched the technology for producing nanoparticles with fermentation last year, which we are continuing with. So I guess I'd just like to kind of jump into these questions, since Courtney did introductions for us. So I think that all of us on the stage are really working to push the bounds on commercializing really groundbreaking technology. So I'd really like all three of you to kind of touch on what that technology is and how you think it's going to change the world.
Yes, I'll go first. Good to be here, thank you. So Tenera is fundamentally rewriting the bioeconomic equation. If you're in bio anything today, bioproducts, biochemicals, biofuels, you're doing two things right now. You are grimacing at a $42 barrel of oil, and you are praying that the federal government will actually pass the renewable fuel standard. And a business simply cannot depend on those two things to be viable. So what Tenera has fundamentally been doing for the last 3 years is starting to, as we say here in the South, use the whole pig. The problem is that the biospace uses 40 to 60% of the biomass, and they discard the rest. Best case scenario, burn it for reheat at very low value. What my team and I have been doing is building a very deep bench in partnership with Oak Ridge National Lab and University of Tennessee for applying that one leftover lignin for things like carbon fiber and very high value materials.
Thanks, Beth. I want to take a step back with this event today, which has been a pleasure to be here, by the way. It takes me back 20 years ago when I came to East Tennessee, actually from NASA Lewis Research Center. And I finished up my PhD work in radiant heating technology and as a postdoc at Oak Ridge National Lab, and they encouraged me to do a startup, which I did. And I have to say it was probably the most challenging but yet rewarding part of my career. And it actually set up the future of my career. So after that successful startup, after a few years, I went on to become a staff member at Oak Ridge National Lab, part from the company, which is alive and well to this day. Infrared heating technologies, actually here in East Tennessee, making capital equipment. I really started pushing a vision towards manufacturing. I looked at this region as really a fertile area for that. And then I drove that to the point, came up with a vision of the manufacturing demonstration facility. When I see the printed T's here, I'm kind of at home. This comes from the manufacturing demonstration facility that has carbon fiber reinforced material. And that's really launched very well. Over the last 3-4 years, we had about 10,000 visitors. And then more recently, working with the University of Tennessee, Oak Ridge National Lab, and a variety of partners, we went after one of these national institutes, namely the Composite Institute. And we captured that back in January, which we had the president, vice president here in East Tennessee. And then we went into negotiations with DOE, and we launched it in June here in Knoxville. We had 350 people here in East Tennessee. The home of the new Composite Institute, known as IACME. Don't worry about that, it's the Composite Institute. We're really looking at commoditizing carbon fiber composites. If you look at CAFE standards that are looming, the automotive industry really has to look at lightweighting as one of its key ways of really increasing miles per gallon. And we're focused on automotive composite, marine composite, and compressed gas storage. So that's what I'm up to these days. It's a public-private partnership, and we have 122 companies really to help us kick that off, working with companies such as Local Motors, MVP, as well as True Design, just a few local companies. So this is home to the National Composite Institute, and we're really excited about working here in this region.
Well, Beth, I'm actually working with graphene, and if you haven't heard of graphene, which a lot of people haven't to date, it really is going to change the world. So graphene is a fundamental material. It's made of pure carbon, and it was discovered in 2004. And we've licensed technology from Oak Ridge National Labs that allows us to basically take this very expensive technology and turn it into the real world. So the fundamental thing is well, have you ever heard of the Jetsons, the cartoon The Jetsons? Okay, you know, it's kind of magical. They fly through the air and they do all that stuff. Well, graphene will actually enable things like that in the future.
So you're saying I can finally have a hover car?
Next week, absolutely. It'll be a few years, but these kind of things can actually happen with this technology.
Great. So all of these are really high-tech processes. And there has been some concern maybe about the timelines involved with high-tech industries and companies. So what is a realistic timeline for these companies, and what are the resources that are here that really expedite that timeline?
So for us, and it sounds like we all get to fight the periodic table, but I can at least say, we are definitely fighting at times, hopefully in concert mostly with the periodic table. So, technology hurdle is a real issue that we have to look at. As an entrepreneur, what I would say is, first and foremost, your seed money that you have, that part won't lie. So whatever time you think it's going to take, you ought to double it, and then make sure you've got enough money for that, and that's generally, going to keep you in a good position. But in terms of our business, what we've had to look at is these are hard problems. The world began looking at lignin for carbon fiber in the early 70s. And they gave it up, and it's such a hard problem. I found this out 2 days after I took the job. But there's an adage that says you can make anything you want out of lignin except money. It's a fascinating, it's an absolutely fascinating molecule. It has a massive amount of stored carbon, and the world is currently not using it. So these are tough problems, but for us, it's constantly looking at the funding, and then making sure that your team is staying focused. That's how best answer I could give.
So I'll talk specifically to carbon fiber composites, which are a reality today, prevalent in high-end vehicles, say Corvette, or low-volume vehicles like the i3. And what we're really pushing on is bringing down the cost of carbon fiber, as well as the processing times to actually make composites, and we're a long way down that road. And credit to a lot of my colleagues at Oak Ridge National Laboratory, University of Tennessee. I'm just really representing them. We're really on the verge of bringing down the cost of carbon fiber significantly. That being said, we've done it in the lab. We've scaled it up. The key is getting those investments and getting companies to move forward and really creating that market pull. And I mentioned CAFE standards, that will help with that pull. So I think that composites are prevalent today, carbon fiber composites, it's happening. You're going to see this in the next 2 to 3 years. If you look out there and you look at the carbon fiber companies and you look at the automobile companies, they're already aligning themselves. They're getting ready and poised, and I think we're going to really change that, particularly here in East Tennessee. These are energy intensive materials, and cost per power is really important. An educated workforce between, again, University of Tennessee, our local community colleges, our new institute, which will also have a training element. It's a real exciting time, and we're poised to make big things happen.
Craig, real quick on that, you do speak more from the lab setting. You think that those quick timelines will really be seen and realized in the company setting once carbon fiber is being commercialized as well?
Yeah, I think the key is, if you look at the carbon fiber production around the world, if you were to put 6 or 8 pounds on a high volume vehicle, it would instantly take all that, okay? So when you see an announcement that a major carbon fiber plant is being built, you're ready to go. The resins are there, the processing times and so forth are being worked on. I definitely think this is time, and it's going to happen. Mm-hmm.
Beth, have you ever read the book Ray Kurzweil, Age of the Spiritual Machine? Probably not.
No,
okay.
I have not.
Well, he actually talks about, in some of his writings, something called the law of accelerated returns. And fundamentally, technology is getting to the market faster than it ever has. You go back 50 years, and for people to make a change on a car would take several years. Now it takes a few months. I mean, it's amazing how fast stuff happens. Now follow that with the concept that technology has the shelf life of fruit. It looks really good for the first few weeks. After about 6 months, it doesn't look all that good. Well, we at General Graphene, we realize this, and we actually have to get our technology out into the world very quickly. We don't have the luxury of a long time. And that's part of the process to get it done quickly. But at the same time, we actually have the technology and the tools to do that. So it is becoming the law of accelerated returns. Everything is happening faster. It's not 30 years for market adoption, it's not even 10 years, it has to be much quicker.
Well, that is really reassuring being in this region with so many high-tech technologies. So it sounds like things are really progressing for all three of you and the different areas. So what are the next steps? Where are all three of these technologies? I know, Craig, you touched on it a little bit, but what are the next steps to really push these technologies forward and see them in the market on a large scale?
So for us, this next year is going to be very exciting, and I fully expect you starting to hear more about our company. We've had to lay low, if you will, because it not only involves tough problems, but there are other people working on it. So first and foremost, we've got 4 sponsor research agreements and a license agreement with the University of Tennessee. We have a license agreement, an exclusive license agreement with Oak Ridge on our technology, and this next year is our time to rise up above the surface with what we're doing. I want to leave it at that, but I would say that the rollout is here, and what it's going to be is a stepping stone approach. Some of the advanced composite applications, no way I can look at you straight face and say you're going to see it commercialized tomorrow. It's not going to happen. But what we are doing in our business is creating a stepping stone with our core technology, our core pulping technology, to launch our business. And then from there, continue the research and development with our partnerships, our strategic partnerships here in the area, so that we can ultimately get to that goal of lignin-derived, carbon fiber, lignin-derived composites.
So if I can add to that, we actually have a corporate research and development agreement with a company working specifically on lignin-based carbon fiber for insulating applications, functional applications, and it's actually come a long way. The first thing I think you'll see commercialized from a carbon fiber standpoint, different than your traditional pan, will be textile pan. And there's been studies done by the likes of Lux saying that this, in the next 5 years, will probably be the first to be commercialized. If you take a look at textile pan versus an aerospace grade pan, it's about half to a third the price. So there's the potential of significant reductions in cost. But always keep in mind, at the end of the day, more than likely, a plant's not going to come out of the ground unless there's a purchase agreement. So even the first move into this will be fully purchased from the time that there's an announcement. It's just the way business works. So
what I find interesting is all three of us kind of are related to ORNL in some sense. Obviously you work there, but the technology you all have and the technology we have, we licensed from Oak Ridge National Labs. And yes, our technology is fantastic from the folks who did it, and I want to give Oak Ridge a plug for that. But also the fact that we've been able to get it from Oak Ridge, and they've worked with us extensively to take the technology and actually commercialize it. So our time frame is probably the next couple of years before the technology we have will actually see mass production. But we will be actually demonstrating our product within 1 year. So we're not far from it.
Well, yeah, Big, you're even closer now. We heard earlier that you have recently landed some funding. So congratulations on that, that's huge. Can you speak a little bit to what that means both for General Graphene, but also what that means, that kind of money in this region?
That is a big deal, and part of the problem startup companies face is that it's an inefficient use of capital to get small amounts of money and then try to grow into that. It prevents you from growing, prevents you from hiring the right people right off the bat. It is very difficult to do that. So with the amount of capital we have and the plan, and frankly the Angel Capital Group put together for us, is we have the ability now to execute very efficiently. And we're extremely excited about that.
And do you have any, I mean, that's not necessarily the general rule for Knoxville and East Tennessee in general. Do you see this as a trend that is going to continue? Did you have to fight really hard for that money? Where is that for the entrepreneurship community at large?
And that's a good question in the sense that if you have a technology you want to bring to market, how much money do you raise? And it's a little bit of a yin-yang. Do you raise just enough money so you can build a prototype and get something out? But that delays your time in getting to market. It also delays the ultimate value of the technology because other people are competing with you. On the other side, if you raise a lot of money, it takes a long time to get there. So I don't have any real advice on that. In fact, we were very lucky. You know, we managed to work with the right people, and we had the right technology at the right time. So.
Okay, well, I think we need to be wrapping up. So I just want to say thank you, all three, for joining me on stage today. Also, congratulations on the progress that it really seems like you're all making. And hopefully we will see great things from all three of these technologies very soon.